Please welcome Filipe.
Yeah. Okay, so hi everyone. As Mark told, I'm from Portugal. We have a company that manufactures countertops, and we've been on our lean journey, applying 2-second lean for almost 3 years now. It's a big coincidence that we started implementing 2-second lean on the same day as Cambridge Engineering, on the 5th of January 2015. And so far we have had many challenges in our lean journey, but definitely the biggest challenge of all was leading and managing people. From all the challenges we had, that was the biggest one. And then sometimes you wonder, what's wrong with people? Why is it so hard, so difficult to manage people? Why does it require so much time, so much energy to get people motivated, engaged, and productive? Why are people such a big problem? And then it hit me. The real question is not what's wrong with people. The real question is what's wrong with me as a leader. People are not the problem. I am the problem. It's always been me. Okay? So once I realized that and I started focusing on myself as a leader, things began to improve. Things began to change. So you want to know how to invest half of your time and get double results? Let me show you what I learned in the past year. There were 3 things I learned. The first thing is that you need to focus on getting the right people on your team. A couple of years ago, I read this amazing book called Good to Great from Jim Collins, where he says, people are not your most important asset. The right people are. Okay? First who, then what? Unfortunately for me, it didn't explain in this book how to identify and develop the right people. I got that answer in the beginning of this year with this book from Patrick Lencioni called The Ideal Team Player. So in this book, Patrick talks about the 3 virtues of an ideal team player: humility, hunger, and people smarts. None of these virtues in isolation are new. The big thing that the key idea of this book is that you do need to have the 3 virtues simultaneously on the same person to have an ideal team player. So what we did, based on the knowledge we got from this book, we changed the way we hire and the way we develop our people. So last year, before we were using this, we had 2 new positions and we had to hire 7 people to get the right people. So we missed 5 times. After reading this book and making the necessary changes, this year we had to hire 4 people, and we hired 4 people with 100% success rate. So this is very important, starting with the right people. That's the first thing I learned. The second thing is about soft skills. Let me give you an analogy. Imagine you have this machine, okay? In order for the machine to work well, the machine needs to have the right components, the right parts. That's obvious. But only having the right parts doesn't make the machine work. Because if there is no lubrication, the parts won't work well together and the machine won't work. In a team, it's exactly the same. You might have the right people, which you probably haven't, but even if you have, if you don't have good lubrication in the team won't work. And the lubrication that exists in a team, it's called soft skills, interpersonal skills. People need to develop their soft skills, otherwise what happens is that you get all the time defects in the communications. People get, there is so much misunderstanding, there are egos that are getting in the way of the communication, and you spend lots of time trying to manage all the confusion that is caused by not having people with the skill to better communicate among themselves. So this book here, Crucial Conversations, it's, for me, it's one, I read it 4 times in a row. It's that powerful. And it helped me a lot understand how dialogue really works and what gets in the way of communication. So it's one of the best books I've ever read. So it's a book I suggest you read too. It's very important to have effective and good communication on your team. Then the third thing and final thing that I learned this past year, I learned with Paul when we were training for the Ironman in San Diego in March, and it's about total clarity. Paul told me a thing that I will never forget. He told me, Filipe, people don't see the light and then change. People feel the pain and then they change. Let me say that again. People don't see the light and change. People feel the pain and then they change. So your people must feel 100% respected, 100% supported. You must love your people. You really must. But at the same time, you have to be totally clear on your expectations. Your people must understand that you really mean business when you're talking with them. That you won't accept no bullshit and no excuses, and that things really need to happen. So I realized that I loved people all my life, but I was not doing the total clarity part of the equation. So basically, I thought of myself as a lead maniac, and many times I was just being a lean pussy. And that was, and that was really taking much of my time. And you know, when you keep saying the same things to people, when you keep struggling with the same issues, when you're basically babysitting everyone all the time, it's a complete nightmare. So once I realized that, I got so disgusted with myself that I decided to change. And since then, I had some talks with some of my team members, always being respectful, always being supportive, but being absolutely clear on the expectations. And when you lose the fear of talking, when you lose the fear that somebody might walk away, people start to listen to you in a very different way. You start talking once and things start happening. You don't have to be cheerleading people all the time. So this is a very, one of the most important things I learned as a leader is that you need to have total clarity, much love to your people, but don't forget this. So basically, this was my presentation. 3 things you need to know that were important for me. Number 1, starting with the right people. Number 2, developing soft skills. And lastly, totally clear on your expectations. Thank you very much.